Welcome back to another episode of the Evolving Beyond podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, and today we are going to talk about what the people you dislike can teach you about yourself. Realistically, you are not going to like every single person that you meet, and vice versa. However, when I find myself in a situation where I meet someone that I'm not particularly fond of, I like to investigate it and ask why. Like, what is the reason for me not liking them? There could be some things that they've done that have caused me to not like them, but underneath that, what's going on? I feel like this typically falls into 4 categories. And when you're able to categorize the deeper reason of why you don't like this particular person, you're able to learn so much more about yourself and evolve. So let's get into it. The first reason why you may not like someone is because they could be reminding you of traits that you dislike within yourself. It's like a mirror for you. So this is where this person is embodying a trait or a characteristic or something in their life that you also can identify with in yourself, but maybe you have had to work really hard to suppress it, or maybe it hasn't been as well accepted as it is with this person. So as an example, let's say that growing up, you were always told that you were like super, super loud and obnoxious, right? I definitely got that as a child. So throughout life, I had these phases where I would try to kind of taper my personality down a bit because I never wanted to be seen as being too much, right? So during those periods of my life when I was kind of trying to be more aware of the way that I was presenting myself in situations, trying not to be too loud or obnoxious or annoy people, I found people who were overly loud and obnoxious to be annoying. Like for me personally, I typically don't care if people are like obnoxious or loud. If you're having a good time, if you're not hurting anybody, it typically doesn't bother me. But during these times where I was hyper aware of this thing that people had given me negative feedback for, I was hypersensitive to it in others as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say that I disliked these people, but it was more so that I found them like annoying. But when I looked deeper into that, it really wasn't that I found them annoying. It was the fact that they were able to just express themselves so freely. And to me, it seemed like everyone else was just accepting it and no one was giving them negative feedback about it. But in reality, people probably told them that they were annoying or that they were loud or obnoxious and probably gave them the same negative feedback. But the fact that they were able to just continue to be themselves was something that triggered me. If you find yourself disliking someone or you prefer not to be around them, and there isn't really a logical reason why, it may just be that they are mirroring traits that you are not fully loving within yourself. All right, second category. They embody something that you want to be. This kind of falls under like jealousy and envy. You may want something that they have. It could be maybe a job. It could be a status. I think this is something that can happen a lot in relationships. Like maybe if you are the only like single friend in the friend group, you can kind of start to feel like annoyed about your situation. In reality, it's not that you dislike that person. It's just that they are embodying that thing that you want. And so it really just goes back to jealousy and not feeling fully satisfied with where you are in life and who you are being. The third reason is that maybe they are triggering an old wound that hasn't yet healed. So maybe they are a person who reminds you of someone in your past, right? And it's not necessarily that they have done anything wrong to you, but they just remind you of someone who is no longer in your life who hurt you before. And in seeing those similarities, sometimes it can trigger like an old wound that you haven't healed from. If you find yourself in this situation, it gives you an opportunity to look at that wound and see like, oh, maybe this is something that I've been avoiding and something that I'm not actually healed from. Maybe it's something that I've just been suppressing and just like glazing over. But in reality, this is something that is still very triggering for me. Ultimately, by allowing those old wounds to continue to be triggered, or if you're trying to just like protect your wounds, you are going to limit yourselves in terms of life. You're going to limit yourselves in terms of potential relationships and friendships you could have, or opportunities that may be presented to you because you're trying to protect this old wound. So when this comes up in someone that you don't like, it allows you to turn back inward and figure out why they're triggering you, and also what you need to do in order to move forward and actually heal that wound once and for all. And the last reason, maybe you don't like this person because they actually are not a good person and they're hurting people. Maybe they're lying to people. Maybe they're manipulating people and you are seeing it in front of your eyes. That is a valid reason to not like someone. More so than just not liking them, it gives you an opportunity to really get clear on what your values are and to see what alignment looks like for you. So obviously, if this person is in your life and you see that they are lying or manipulating or hurting people, then obviously that tells you that that relationship is misaligned, right? It doesn't align with you. It doesn't align with your values or what you want in your life. So it gives you an opportunity to actually set boundaries and see what needs to change in order to move forward and not have this relationship in your life with this person that you dislike. So even if it is something that is actually negative and this person is hurting people, it still provides us with an opportunity to grow. I think an important thing to note with this as well is this goes both ways, right? So this isn't just for people that you dislike, but it's also for people that dislike you. If you've ever heard the saying, don't take it personal, I think that's where this can come into play a lot of times, because sometimes we think that people only dislike us when we do something to hurt them, right? That may not be the case. Like, there are multiple reasons why someone could dislike you or why someone could find you annoying. And most of them have nothing to do with like you actually harming the person, but it has a lot to do with the person themselves and with things that they just haven't yet uncovered about themselves. I think that's an important perspective to have, because sometimes we can be hard on ourselves and think that if someone doesn't like us, it's because we did something wrong, but that may not be the case. And if it is the case that you did something wrong and that's why people don't like you, then that's an opportunity for you to practice sincere remorse. I think just like understanding the deeper reason can help us to have a better understanding of ourselves and the relationships with the people that we encounter. So I hope that this was helpful. Ultimately, I'm a true believer that all relationships and encounters that we have with people are a reflection of ourselves and are just trying to teach us something. So the next time that you encounter someone and you dislike them or you find them annoying and you don't really know why, sit with it for a little bit and maybe go through these categories and like take a moment to really figure out what it is. And once you figure it out, then you know how to proceed. You'll know if this relationship is worth investing in. You'll know if there's an adjustment that needs to be made internally or if there's an adjustment that needs to be made externally. And either way, you'll be better for it. So, yeah. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Is there something that I left out? Is there maybe a more nuanced situation that we could discuss further? I would love to hear your thoughts. If you want to comment on Spotify or if you want to DM me on Instagram, I'm happy to have a conversation there. That wraps up this episode. I believe in you. I'm rooting for you. And I can't wait to see the great things that you do. Talk to you next time. Bye.